I thirst. I thirst. I thirst. 2 short, simple words. As we wrap up this Holy Week Devo series, looking at the last words of Jesus, there's these 2 words that seem so simple, but they're so rich, I don't even know where to start. You see, there's this great irony here when Jesus says, I thirst. Why? Because at the very beginning of the Gospel of John, he meets this woman in John chapter 4, and he says to her, he says, I am the water of life. Whoever drinks of me will never be thirsty again. And now, at the end of John, the one who says that he is the one who quenches all thirst is the one who hangs on the cross thirsty. Oh, and so what do they do to him, right? They bring him some sort of like wine vinegar, right? And they try to get him to drink some of it, but he doesn't. And it's crazy. Wait, why isn't he drinking the wine vinegar? Isn't this the one whose very first miracle in the Gospel of John is what? Turning water into wine. Why? Because Jesus says that his presence inaugurates a celebration, inaugurates the kingdom of God, and it kicks off with a party, and there's joy, and there's more than enough for everyone to celebrate. And now the one who started his public ministry with a celebration now ends his life rejecting this wine and saying, this is not the time to party. I thirst. But it's even crazier because theologians will ask, well, what kind of thirst is it? Is it a physical thirst or is it a spiritual thirst? Is it that he's literally thirsty, needs water in his mouth? Or is it a spiritual thirst because he's so isolated from people and even more isolated from God that for the first time he has this great thirst? We don't know. But what do? We see the beauty of God, full of humanity and full of divinity, fully human and fully God, and he thirsts. You see, sometimes what Jesus does in his pain and in his suffering, sometimes he comes to take your pain and suffering away. But sometimes what he does, he comes to suffer alongside of you. So let me wrap this up by saying, friends, what are you thirsty for? I don't want to try and solve your problem. That's not what we're going to do here. But what we're going to do instead is just be honest and say, what are you thirsty for? Are you thirsty and ready for this coronavirus to be done? Are you thirsty and longing to go back to work and have economic provision? Are you thirsty for a relational connection because you feel so alone and disconnected from humanity that you're going stir crazy? Do you feel thirsty because you feel disconnected from God because the weight of worry and anxiety is blocking you out from being able to stop and sit and be in God's presence and let him love you and care for you? Friends, I know that every single one of you are thirsty for something, so here's my final challenge to you. What I want you to do is stop whatever you're doing right now and stop and just talk to Jesus. Maybe with words, maybe your own head, maybe you want to write it down in a devotional, but I just want you to tell God what you are longing for. Maybe you pray and ask him to satisfy, maybe not, but I just want you to stop and admit that you are thirsty and that you are longing. This is part of our spiritual preparation as we look forward to Easter, when Jesus does the greatest miracle the world has ever seen. Part of it is us realizing our human longing and limitation. So stop and lean into it right